first and foremost, what we do on Sunday and what we do in liturgy is not for me. It's not to lift me up. It's only to lift up God and lift up His Son Jesus.
You read the text of the Word of God, which is given to us as a gift. From that point, you're praying constantly to ask God to guide you and assuring that the musical liturgical selections that you select weave their way as a tapestry. So you create this symphonic, orchestral piece where both word and song lift up into a sung prayer.
There's something glorious about music. And it comes from the depths of the human soul, and it's a sighing and a longing. But I've come to experience that it's just something that only God could put there. There's just something miraculous about music, and it's so universal.
In gospel music, it's not an intimidating thing at all. Music is music, but one of the things it's to do in our Eucharistic celebrations, it's to transform us. We're not to be the same as when we entered. There's a song that we sing here, every day is a day of thanksgiving because God has been good to us. He's been blessing us, even when we might not have thought we deserved it, but He's been blessing us because every day is a day of thanksgiving. You know not the time of the day when God will call you home, but Lord knows you want to make sure you kind of do it right because God has bestowed upon you the gift of life.
These are Catholic choirs, rehearsing for praise and worship at Mass. The type of music that they make is truly praise and worship. What is gospel music in the context of the Latin liturgy? In the Church, worship must be a manner of expression which is befitting the cultural sensitivities of the worshiping community. The African American Catholic worship experience is a vibrant part of the new evangelization which the Church has embraced. Music, in all its forms, has been a part of the Latin liturgy from the very beginning. Each culture brings to a practice of liturgy its own flavor, its own sense of the sacred. Exploring the richness and reverence which gospel music brings to the liturgy is an important part of acknowledging the diversity which is the Catholic Church. One of the criticisms of the use of gospel music in the liturgy is that it slips into a performance event. Many of the choirs of the Archdiocese of Washington have had to address this challenge. Lynne Gray, music director at St. Anthony at Padua Church in Washington, D.C., has an answer to this challenge.
Coming to the table with a sincere heart, coming to the table with the spirits that represent the community of faith, coming to the table with all that we have, the gifts as servants, to truly lead the community of faith into full, conscious, active participation in the Eucharist. It belongs to us all. So we come to the table with all that we are, all whose we are, all that we have to offer, making sure that it's not about just one individual person.
There is a connection between the preached word and music, which is used well in many of the parishes which have gospel music as part of their liturgical practice. Msgr. Charles Pope.
Well, I think my main experience of working in the African American community with music is there's an interaction, especially between the preached word and the sung word. And especially, I've developed a very good relationship with our music director here, Kenneth Louis. And I'm always mindful of the fact that I can get up and say a number of things, but very often it's the choir that can take what I say and put it in music, and just people go home with that in their heart. And they'll take up a theme. For example, my homily this last Sunday was Always Remember. And I knew there was a song out there, Always Remember Jesus, And sure enough, all I had to do was just pitch it to him, and he picked it right up, and they brought a beautiful, they just brought it home. And so I think it's that interaction. Whereas my experience in other parishes has been where the music was kind of an add-on. It was sort of, we sing a hymn to sing a hymn, rather than, no, this is going to be integral to the entire preached word and the entire Eucharistic celebration. That's the key, I think, that's so different.
The challenge to remember why we gather as a worshiping community can be addressed. Nova Tate, music director at St. Martin of Tours Church in Washington, D.C.
If it ministers to you, then definitely it will minister to someone else. So you have to continue to keep that connection first about yourself, and if it's a word that you needed to hear, don't be selfish. Share it.
The effort to engage the congregation in singing the Lord's praises is a top priority for Kenneth Louis, music director at Holy Comforter St. Cyprian Church in Washington, D.C.
We foster here at Holy Comforter St. Cyprian active, conscious participation in the liturgy. It's perhaps one of the treasures of the African American culture, African American music culture, and it works in terms of worship. It makes it easy for the congregant or for the person in the assembly to sing along with the choir.
There are diverse congregations in the Archdiocese of Washington. Each of the congregations appreciates the strength of this diversity. On any given Sunday, people of all ethnic and racial backgrounds express their praise of the Lord with music ministry, to which we all are called as participants in sacred liturgy. Vatican II expressly states that there are people who have their own musical tradition, and this plays a great part in their religion and social life. For this reason, their music should be held in proper esteem and a suitable place be given to it, not only in forming that religious sense, but also in adapting worship to their native genius. The faithful are to be active participants in the sacred liturgy. This is expressed in no greater example than in the exuberant and expressive participation of the congregation at the Mass with gospel music.
It's just proof for the existence of God, because where would it come from? It comes from, it's God's love resonating in the human heart and the human soul, and it's our longing and our desire and our yearning crying out, for completion. And ultimately, I think, to me, music is just a magnificent proof for the existence of God.